It's undisputed that radio stations in different parts of the state aired the announcements that were created here. It's undisputed that the money used to create and distribute those advertisements came from state funds. Those facts are sufficient, I believe, to allow this body to make a determination that summary judgment should be entered against the governor. Not only should the governor's motion be denied, but this body should enter a finding that based on the plain language of the statute, a violation occurred when the governor used or permitted the use of state funds for public service announcements aired on a radio station. The governor has argued some issues, and I guess this may be a little bit out of school, but I believe you were my law review advisor and a professor when 20 years ago I entered law school.
That could have been. I really can't remember, but
right.
Remember you as a student.
Ever since then, I have heard it said that if the facts are in your favor, argue the facts, but if they aren't, argue the law. Here, neither the facts or the law are in the governor's favor, so he's arguing policy. And he wants you to consider facts not before this body. Where I think the facts are in dispute, and where earlier you cautioned both counsel, but I took it to heart not to charge you angrily, not to run angrily at the bench. And if there's anything that would tend to frustrate me, it is the suggestion that the specific public service announcements at issue here were for legitimate state business reasons. The content of the ads themselves belie that. The governor included in his ad, Montana is on the move. And as I have here blown up, and I'd like to supplement the record, that is a branding slogan. And if we were forced to have an evidentiary hearing on this secondary issue, I could bring in campaign strategists who would tell you that the job here is to have a seamless connection between the Democrat Party, between the governor, and between the administration. The media moguls and manipulators want that message to brand this political candidate. The more they can get that in front of the voters, the more, when the voting booth curtain closes, a voter is likely to remember that person or some ad or some feeling that they got when they saw that ad. That is the insidious nature of so-called public service announcements. That is exactly what the legislature intended to stop. Sure, they would have a public purpose, but here the public purpose was at least undermined by the crass inclusion of his campaign slogan. It was briefed, I believe, by the governor that that's his personal motto. You know, the motto of this state is Oro y Plata. He doesn't have authority to incorporate his campaign slogan and say, well, that's the motto of this administration. You know, my motto is the bigger they are, the harder they fall. This is not a legitimate purpose. Second, when you look at this National Ag Month, that's just a bald-faced misrepresentation. It's an extremely unfortunate and unseemly issue here. Again, it detracts from the primary issue, which I think is properly before you on this narrow set of facts. And bear in mind, I think you can enter summary judgment on that narrow set of facts and again, at the risk of redundancy, that the governor used or permitted the use of state funds for a PSA that ran on the radio. That's the prima facie case. It's being justified by my friend because he claims the state government will cease to operate if the governor's not allowed to do this. He says that the governor hasn't done it since this complaint was filed. I think the government is still running. I haven't seen any noticeable impact. The one thing, though, is that his name and voice are not before the electorate paid for by the taxpayer in this unseemly way. But on National Ag Week, also before the hearings officer, is the March 6th email from Miss Lynette Lark. In that email, she explains exactly what was being asked of the governor. And the conduct here is far different from what she was asked to do. And you may have seen some press reports here